Today, everyone agrees that the exit from the crisis and the recovery must integrate the climate emergency, but what must this exactly involve? What are your concrete recommendations, Olivier Fontan?
The main principle is to have the recovery plans inside the low carbon transition, so to have investments which contribute directly to the low carbon transitions or which could have positive co-benefits for the climate. And the main principle also we try to remember to the government is first to not invest in anything that would contribute to any lockdown toward carbon economy. This means that we should forward the recovery package toward energy efficiency mainly through renewable energy, through strong investments in buildings, and also to invest in low carbon transportation, for example, trains or also bicycles, for example, which have benefited from great success during the lockdown weeks. So these are the kinds of structural changes, structural reforms we are expecting from the government and from the recovery package that governments are planning or at the European level.
But typically, the first measures that have been taken don't always take into account climate emergency and environmental protections. So, what is the reason for this, in your opinion, Olivier Fontan?
Well, this is complicated because actually the low carbon transition has to address the global system and the global functioning of society and the economy. And of course, it's very complicated for individuals, for people, for society, for the governments, because we have to change a lot of things. Now, in the short term, the governments have to answer to the employment question and the economic crisis question. And of course, the first answer is to address unemployment and economic crisis. So this is a fertile ground for the lobbies to defend their interest and not to change anything. So the lobbies, they come with, I would say, answers from the past, from a high carbon world, and say, well, you have to do this, and we save so many employments. And this is very reassuring for the governments to be able to be provided with answers with a quick effect and not to try to something which is new, that could fail, that could be more difficult. And so they would have to bear responsibility in the end, especially during the next elections. To address the case of the fair transition, which is mentioned in the preamble of the Paris Agreement, this is an important point that we wanted to put in the Paris Agreement, just to send a message to the people and the governments that yes, we have to make this transition, but no, it has not to be at the cost, at the expense of working people, and we have to think both transition at the same time.
Olivier Fontan, do you have any examples elsewhere in the world of particularly environmentally friendly post-COVID recovery plans that could be inspiring for other countries, for instance?
Actually, it's a bit too soon to have many recovery plans right now, but we have two examples in Europe. The first one is the package announced by the European Commission, which would be 750 billion euros, which is a huge amount of money for this kind of package in the European Union. Till now, one of the first countries to have presented a huge recovery plan is Germany. This is a very interesting package because we have a strong support to green sectors, and as far as I know, we didn't see any strong support to the grey sectors of the economy. Another point in 2020 is that we are expecting inside the framework of the Paris Agreement that countries which are parties to the Paris Agreement present a new nationally determined contribution. NDCs are the kind of action plan and investment plan that countries present to the international community that explain how they will implement efforts to diminish their greenhouse gases emission, and so that collectively we could stay under the limit of +2 degrees, which is specified in the Paris Agreement. So, of course, this year with the COVID-19 crisis, everybody is thinking in everything else than presenting new national determined contributions. But on the contrary, we think that this could be a good moment to articulate recovery plans with the NDCs to be presented this year, so that we have a strong coherence between the necessity in the NDCs for the economies to on the green pathways and the low carbon pathways and the recovery plans. So we think that maybe France, which had a responsibility in the design of the Paris Agreement, and maybe with the next COP presidency, which is the United Kingdom, could exert their influence with foreign countries to incite them to present new NDCs which are coordinated with recovery plans and contributing to the low carbon transition.